This is a story about love, but not the kind you see in movies. Stay tuned, this one feels a little too real. Hyun-woo Choi had never cried in public. Not when his company nearly collapsed at 29. Not when his father passed away suddenly 2 winters ago. He was known for control, tall, broad shoulders, sharp features that rarely softened, intense dark eyes that missed nothing. But the day his daughter was born, something inside him broke open. He stood beside Eric Kim in the private Seoul hospital room, still in his dark tailored suit, tie loosened slightly. Era's long black hair clung gently to her damp forehead as she held the newborn close to her chest. The baby's tiny fingers wrapped instinctively around Hyun-woo's index finger. He didn't speak. He simply leaned closer, overwhelmed by something he had never prepared for. For the first time in his life, he felt fragile. The first weeks were quiet and intimate. Hyun-woo insisted on handling midnight feedings when he could. His large hands looked almost too careful holding the small bottle. Era would watch him from the bed, smiling softly. "She already has your serious expression," Era teased once. He studied the baby's face thoughtfully. "She has your eyes," he replied. Their luxury apartment overlooked the Han River, city lights reflecting like scattered stars at night. From the outside, they looked perfect, stable, successful, untouchable. But perfection is delicate. One evening, Hyun-woo's mother visited. She observed the baby closely, her expression unreadable. "Are you sure the dates align?" she asked casually. Era's smile faded slightly. Hyun-woo stiffened. The question lingered long after his mother left. At first, Hyun-woo dismissed the doubt. He trusted Era completely. But doubt is quiet. It does not shout. It whispers. When he looked at the baby again, he began noticing things he hadn't before. The shape of her nose. The curve of her chin. They didn't resemble him. One night, unable to sleep, he searched online articles about genetics. When do babies start looking like their fathers? The answers were vague. Uncertain. Uncertainty fed the whisper. Era noticed his distance before he admitted it. "Why are you looking at her like that?" she asked softly one evening. He forced a small smile. "Like what?" "Like you're trying to solve something." The confrontation happened gently, which made it worse. "I think we should do a DNA test," Hyun-woo said one morning, voice steady but tight. Era froze. "What?" "It's just to quiet unnecessary doubts," he added quickly. "For my mother." "For clarity." "For you," she corrected softly. He didn't deny it. Era's eyes shimmered, not with guilt, but hurt. "You think I betrayed you?" "I don't know what to think," he admitted. Silence filled the room heavier than accusation. Trust does not collapse loudly. It cracks. And they both heard it. The test was done privately. Hyun-woo drove alone to the medical center to submit his sample. The sterile white hallway felt colder than usual. Days passed in strained politeness. They spoke about diapers and feeding schedules, but avoided eye contact. Then the call came. Hyun-woo answered while standing in his office overlooking Seoul's skyline. "Mr. Choi," the nurse said carefully. "The results are ready." There was a pause. "The DNA test indicates you are not the biological father." The city below continued moving, unaware that his world had just tilted off its axis. Hyun-woo said nothing. He simply ended the call. And for the first time, doubt became something far more dangerous. Hyun-woo did not go home immediately. He remained standing in his office long after the call ended, Seoul's skyline blurred behind the glass. His reflection stared back at him, composed, controlled, but hollow. Not the father. The words replayed with mechanical precision. He thought of the delivery room. The tiny fingers gripping his own. The nights he had stayed awake memorizing her breathing. Had all of it been built on a lie? When he finally entered the apartment that evening, Era was seated on the floor beside the crib, softly humming. Her long black hair fell over her shoulder as she looked up at him with familiar warmth. He couldn't return it. "We need to talk," he said quietly. She saw it immediately. Something had broken. "The results came back," he said, voice controlled. Era stood slowly. "And?" He held her gaze. "It says I'm not the father." The silence that followed was absolute. Then Era shook her head once. "Not defensive. Not panic. That's impossible." "Documented," he replied. She stepped closer, eyes clear and steady. "Hyun-woo, I have never been with anyone else." He searched her expression for cracks. For hesitation. For guilt. There was none. Only hurt. "You think I would risk our child?" "Our marriage," she whispered. His jaw tightened. "I don't know what to believe." And that uncertainty wounded her more than accusation ever could. The argument did not explode. It eroded. Hyun-woo moved into the guest room that night. Era remained in the master bedroom with the baby, staring at the ceiling long after the lights were turned off. She replayed timelines in her mind. Doctor visits. Conception dates. Every detail aligned perfectly. There was no space for betrayal. Yet science had spoken. The next morning, Hyun-woo avoided holding the baby. When she began to cry, he hesitated before approaching. That hesitation did more damage than the test result. Era noticed. "You loved her yesterday," she said softly. He closed his eyes briefly. "I don't know what she is to me today." The words hung between them like frost. Hyun-woo requested a retest. Privately. Quietly. He told no one, not even his mother. At the medical center, he demanded confirmation procedures. The technician assured him the initial sample had been processed correctly. Still, doubt lingered. Meanwhile, Era visited her obstetrician alone. "I need you to check everything," she insisted calmly. "Lab history. Records. Blood work." The doctor frowned slightly but complied. 2 days later, Hyun-woo received the second result. Identical. Zero biological match. His hands tightened around the paper until the edges bent. Across the city, Era waited for her own callback. Their phones would ring within the same hour. But not with the same information. Hyun-woo's phone rang first. "Mr. Choi," the laboratory supervisor said carefully, "there is no error in your report." The confirmation was final. He felt something inside him seal shut. Minutes later, Era's phone rang. "Mrs. Choi," her doctor said, voice strained, "we need to discuss something regarding the hospital records from your delivery." Her heart skipped. There appears to have been a labeling irregularity in the neonatal ward. She stood abruptly. "What does that mean?" A pause. "It means your baby may not be the one you delivered." Cross Seoul, two truths began moving toward each other. And neither of them were ready. Hyun-woo's phone rang first. "Mr. Choi," the laboratory supervisor said carefully, "there is no error in your report." The confirmation was final. He felt something inside him seal shut. Minutes later, Era's phone rang. "Mrs. Choi," her doctor said, voice strained, "we need to discuss something regarding the hospital records from your delivery." Her heart skipped. There appears to have been a labeling irregularity in the neonatal ward. She stood abruptly. "What does that mean?" A pause. "It means your baby may not be the one you delivered." Cross Seoul, two truths began moving toward each other. And neither of them were ready. The other couple was brought in quietly. Lee Min-jae, early 30s, warm but visibly anxious. And his wife, Soo-jin, fragile, protective, holding a baby girl. Hyun-woo froze. The baby in Soo-jin's arms. She had his eyes. Not similar. Identical. The same sharp fold at the corner. The same intense gaze. Era noticed it too. Her breath caught. Sujin looked confused. What is happening? The administrator explained carefully. Two baby girls. Born 23 minutes apart. Similar weight. Similar blankets. A tagging error. Silence wrapped around all four adults. Then Min-jae spoke softly. You're saying, we may have been raising each other's children? No one corrected him. 'Cause that was exactly what they were saying. This time, both babies were tested. No secrecy. No suspicion. Only truth. The waiting period was unbearable. Hyun-woo avoided looking at the other child too long. Era, however, couldn't stop. There was something instinctive. A pull she couldn't explain. Meanwhile, Sujin held Era's baby, the child Era had nurtured for months. She whispered gently to her. The child responded. As if she recognized something deeper than memory. Hyun-woo noticed. And something shifted inside him. Love, he realized, had never asked for proof before. Why had he? This time, both babies were tested. No secrecy. No suspicion. Only truth. The waiting period was unbearable. Hyun-woo avoided looking at the other child too long. Era, however, couldn't stop. There was something instinctive. A pull she couldn't explain. Meanwhile, Sujin held Era's baby, the child Era had nurtured for months. She whispered gently to her. The child responded. As if she recognized something deeper than memory. Hyun-woo noticed. And something shifted inside him. Love, he realized, had never asked for proof before. Why had he? No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Min-jae cleared his throat. What happens now? The administrator explained legal procedures. Custody corrections. Gradual transition options. Legal. Clinical. Cold. Era walked slowly toward the crib of the baby she had raised. She picked her up gently. The baby nestled instantly against her shoulder. Era whispered, "You are mine." Hyun-woo watched her. And something broke open inside him, but this time, not from doubt. From clarity. He stepped beside her. "We will not decide today," he said firmly. He turned to the other couple. "These children deserve stability. Not panic." Min-jae nodded through tears. Two fathers looked at each other, not as rivals. But as men standing at the edge of impossible love. And for the first time since the DNA test, Hyun-woo did not feel betrayed. He felt tested. And love, he realized, was far more complicated than biology. The apartment felt unfamiliar again. Two bassinets had been placed side by side in the living room temporarily, one holding the child they had raised, the other holding their biological daughter for supervised transition. Hyun-woo stood near the window overlooking the Han River, city lights trembling across the water. Era sat between the two babies. Her hands rested gently on both bassinets. As if afraid one might disappear. "They both reach for me," she whispered. Hyun-woo closed his eyes briefly. "I know." There was no anger now. Only something far more difficult. Grief. The biological baby began to cry first. Era froze. Then instinct took over. She lifted her gently, swaying softly. But when the other baby stirred too, something unexpected happened. Hyun-woo moved immediately. Without hesitation. He picked up the child they had raised. She calmed instantly in his arms. He didn't realize he was holding her so tightly until Era noticed. "You don't pull away from her anymore," Era said softly. He looked down at the baby resting against his chest. "I was wrong," he admitted. "About what?" Thinking love needed proof. Era's eyes filled again. For the first time since the DNA call. They felt like a team. Across the city, Min-jae and Sujin faced the same torment. Sujin sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the bassinet holding the baby who was biologically not hers. She knows my heartbeat, Sujin whispered. Min-jae sat beside her quietly. And their daughter knows Era's. Neither of them wanted to be selfish. But neither of them wanted to let go. Love had grown roots in the wrong soil. And now someone was asking them to replant it. A week later, both couples met again, this time without hospital staff. Just 4 adults. 2 babies. No lawyers. No administrators. Hyun-woo spoke first. We can't erase 8 months, he said calmly. Min-jae nodded. No. Era inhaled deeply. What if we don't? The room shifted. Sujin looked up slowly. Era continued carefully. What if we raise them knowing the truth, but without tearing them away abruptly? Shared visits. Gradual bonding. Transparency when they're older. No sudden separation. Min-jae's voice broke slightly. You're suggesting we remain connected. Hyun-woo looked at the other father. I'm suggesting we choose stability over ownership. Silence. Then Sujin whispered. I don't want my daughter to grow up feeling stolen. Era reached across the table. Neither do I. And something fragile began forming. Not a perfect solution. But a humane one. Later that night, Hyun-woo stood in the nursery. He looked at both bassinets again. He gently touched the tiny hand of the daughter he had raised. Then the hand of his biological daughter. They both curled their fingers around him. Identical gesture. He exhaled slowly. I will not measure love by blood, he murmured. Era stepped beside him. Then what will you measure it by? He looked at her. By who stays? And in that moment, the decision wasn't about DNA. It was about commitment. Spring in Seoul. Cherry blossoms lined the walkway outside an elementary school near the Han River. 2 little girls ran ahead, identical in age, different in temperament. One bold and energetic. The other observant and thoughtful. But when they left, they sounded the same. Hyun-woo walked between the 2 families, hands in his coat pockets, watching carefully. Era walked beside Sujin now, not as rivals. But as something more complicated. Something forged in fire. The girls called out simultaneously. Appa. Both men looked up. And both answered. Question. Why do I have 2 moms? The room went still. Hyun-woo and Era had promised transparency. No secrets. Era knelt gently in front of her. Because when you were born, something unexpected happened. Hyun-woo crouched beside her. But instead of fighting, we chose to love you together. The little girl blinked thoughtfully. So, nobody gave me away? Min-jae's voice was steady. No one gave you away. We just gained more people. The child smiled. Satisfied. Children do not complicate love. Adults do. Later that night, after the girls were asleep during a shared weekend visit, Hyun-woo stood alone on the balcony. The city skyline shimmered below. Era joined him quietly. You don't regret it? She asked. Which part? Not demanding custody. Not choosing biology. He turned toward her slowly. I almost lost everything because I thought blood defined family. He looked back toward the nursery room inside. I won't make that mistake twice. Era leaned into him. For the first time in years. There was no fracture between them. Only understanding. Years later. Graduation day. 2 teenage girls standing side by side, confident, radiant. One inherited Hyun-woo's sharp eyes. The other inherited Era's gentle smile. Both inherited something deeper. Security. The camera pulls back. 2 families sitting together in the audience. No tension. No regret. Just something quietly extraordinary. The narrator returns. Love does not ask whose blood runs through your veins. It asks who stayed when it would have been easier to leave. Fade to black.